Hey everybody, Ketwolski here checking in with another one of our hashtag Star Trek discussion videos. Today's going to be kind of a two-part piece from the video that I uploaded a couple of days ago that explained why I personally felt that Star Trek Nemesis was the most impactful film in the Star Trek universe. And I want to talk a little bit about one of the biggest criticisms that the film actually garners from Trekkies and even non-Trekkies, which is the motivation for Shinzon's character inside of the film. Now, I do want to go ahead and say that there is, of course, going to be some spoilers in this discussion video, so if you haven't seen the film yet, I know it's been out for a while, but if you haven't seen it yet, go ahead and click out of this video here and go check out another one of my videos on the channel. I'll go ahead and give you guys a few moments to do that now. Okay, so one of the biggest things that Shinzon gets the kind of the negative slash against him is his decision to actually annihilate Earth. I swear to God, I'm going to put an actually counter on this. So one of the things that he's going to do in the film is he's actually going to annihilate Earth, the home of the Federation, with his Thalaron radiation weapon, basically destroying the entire planet. And a lot of people are sitting there saying, well, why would he do that against Earth? What has Earth done to Shinzon? In fact, if anything, he should Thalaron radiate Romulus, because Romulans are the ones that built him, Romulans are the Romulans that abandoned him, and Romulan ones that are basically abused the shit out of him and all of his Reman brothers on Remus inside of the Reman mines. Now, I want to talk a little bit about that. So let's first think about what happens at the beginning of Star Trek Nemesis. The plot unfolds between it's kind of a middle ground of a coup d'etat mixed with a Reman revolution. Now, the Fleet Admiralty that's actually controlling most of the bulk of the fleet inside of the Romulan Star Empire wants to overthrow the Romulan Senate and get someone who's a little bit less political and much more, I guess, domineering inside of galactic politics. So they look to Shinzon, who is a capable commander that we know of from the Dominion Wars, and who's got a really battle-hardened Reman force behind him and a really badass ship called the Scimitar. So they put their faith into this guy, and they decide, hey, let's get rid of the Romulan Senate, we'll establish a Praetor that's kick-ass, and then we'll kind of, go about our business and taking over the Federation. Now, Shinzon's goal here is to get his revenge against what he views as the establishment that caused him all that pain and suffering, which in this case is the Romulan Senate, not the United Federation of Planets. Now, the Federation of Planets has very little to do with the suffering that Shinzon incurred. Most of it came from, in his mind, the lash of a Romulan whip for 10 hours a day, which is owned by the Romulan military, which is owned by the Romulan Senate. So his hatred is very much accurately placed against the people that are sitting inside the Senate chambers at the beginning of Star Trek Nemesis. And as we know, everybody in that chamber actually dies from a little tiny Thalaron weapon, and this is, of course, part of the plot by a few senators and mainly the Admiralty of the Romulan Star Empire's fleet. So, at the end of this sequence, Shinzon has become the Praetor, which is what the Fleet Admiral wants, and the Remans, along with Shinzon, have now rocketed from being the slave race of the Romulans, outcasts of the Romulan society, and now have become at the forefront. They own the most badass ship. One of their own, technically own, people is actually the Praetor of the Romulan Star Empire. So the revolution has completed. Now, when you have a revolution, you don't typically kill the populace of the planet that you just revolutioned. I know it's a little bit different because they were obviously being oppressed by the Romulans. The Remans were being oppressed by the Romulans, but it was mainly the government. You want to overthrow the government, and that's what they successfully did. This would be the same thing in my mind as if, during the revolution, yeah, of course, you're going to have different bands inside of France that you don't necessarily like, but your main goal that you don't like is the King of France. You overthrow the King of France and you install either another monarchy or a different type of government. So when you do that, you don't then turn around and then kill everybody in Paris just because, well, they liked the king and now we're going to kill him, and they let him do whatever he wanted to do. That's not usually how revolutions work. So it makes sense that his own planet, which is now his home base, which is Romulus, would remain intact. They would instead rule that with an iron fist and not actually annihilate them with a Thalaron weapon. So then I want to talk a little bit about the United Federation of Planets and how it does fit into Shinzon's overall plan, but not in relation to the plan of the revolution that took place at the beginning of the film. Now, his empire now, which is the Romulan Star Empire that he's in control of, along with the fleet admirals, is, of course, going to be primarily threatened by the power that the United Federation of Planets has. I mean, they've engaged in multiple wars, dozens, if not hundreds, of skirmishes throughout the decades, and there, of course, is a lot of bad blood between the two opposing organizations. So what does his plan in order to continue to expand out the now Riemann-controlled Romulan Star Empire is, of course, to basically get rid of the Federation of Planets. So his goal there is, well, you know, I'm going to destroy Earth. Now, I want to talk a little bit about what his motivations behind such a brutal act of using the Thaleron weapon is caused by. In my mind, number one is obviously his mind is extremely warped, just based off of the fact that he's been living as essentially a slave, an outcast with the Riemans inside of a dilithium mining colony, and getting beat every day and living as a slave. So his mind is definitely warped. He's not necessarily thinking straight and rationally thinking. He's definitely got a little bit more. He's obviously smart enough to build a scimitar, and he's a capable commander, but his mind is definitely not all there, and I think you can kind of tell that by the fact that he shoves a metal pipe through his own body. The other thing is, he's also going to try to prove himself, I feel. Coming face to face with Picard inside of the film, I understand that he needed Picard's blood to help keep him alive, but I do feel like there was also kind of a duality between the two characters there, where Shinzon is now seeing what he could have become given the right circumstances, and I feel like he has kind of a deep desire to almost prove himself that he is worthy of, you know, this blood that he has, that this legendary blood of Captain Picard that he actually has. And he's going to try to prove himself that he's not only better than Picard, and that his empire, and not the Federation, but his, you know, Romulan Star Empire is better than the thing that Picard stands for, which is the Federation of Planets. And I think he's going to try to prove that he's his own man. I think that his goals there is to actually showcase that, you know, I am my own person. I am Shinzon of Remus, and that's what he actually even says to Picard at the end of the film, towards the climax, where he's like, I am Shinzon of Remus, and my name is going to go through, echoing all through time, long after Picard's name is faded, because I need to make a name for myself so that I can prove who it is that I am, because I'm essentially going through an identity crisis as a goddamn clone of fucking bald Captain Picard. So it makes sense to me why it is that he feels that way, what those different character conflictions are actually going on there. Why he wants to annihilate Earth with a Thaleron weapon. Again, I feel like that's way too extreme, and it's even more extreme it's even too extreme for Romulans. Now, if you're going too extreme for Romulans, you're going too extreme, and that's a fact. But the Admiralty actually goes ahead and flips on him, and actually helps the Federation destroy Shinzon's ship at the Scimitar at the climax of the main action sequence of the film, because they know that basically killing off all of the life on Earth, that's not how you invade the Federation. That's how you make the Federation a bunch of martyrs and actually just rally more systems against you, because nobody wants to deal with the Star Empire that has a creepy death ray attached to a ship that has a perfect cloak. So that's not how you gain more people into your empire and continue to expand. That's how you gain a lot more enemies. So they know that that's a bad plan, and they don't want it to go that way. So anyways, that's why I think Shinzon's character actually makes sense a lot to me inside of the film. I mean, he's already exacted his revenge against the Romulan Senate, which are the people that caused him all the pain and grief. He's already caused the revolution of his Riemann brothers, and they are now no longer the outcasts, but the top tier caste in the Romulan Star Empire. He has a badass ship. He's come face to face with his own, you know, home clone, you know, which is Jean-Luc Picard, and he's decided that he's going to make himself his own man and make his own mark on history and prove himself. So, to me, all of the motivations that I just described, I think, explain why it is that Shinzon is planning the destruction of Earth, and why it is that he didn't want to plan the destruction of Romulus. Again, typically in revolutions, you don't destroy the planet or the town or the city or the state or the country that you are revolutionizing. You want to control it, and that's exactly what he has done. He is now the Praetor, and he controls the Romulan Star Empire from his sweet-looking leather outfit inside the Scimitar. Anyways, that's how I feel about this film, and this big criticism that the film usually gets. I felt like it was always kind of unjustified. I just think people were looking for something a little bit more self-explanatory, but I think that this makes perfect sense. Anyways, I hope that you guys and gals like this video. Please throw a like and a subscribe up on YouTube. Throw a comment down on YouTube and let me know what you guys think of this. Do you guys agree with my assessment as to why it is he wanted to attack Earth? Or do you think that maybe I'm reading too much into it and it's just really poor writing and that's, you know, I should stop trying to defend Star Trek Nemesis? Anyways, I appreciate you guys checking out this video. Please follow me on Twitter at RealKetwolski, and please follow me on Facebook.com at RealKetwolski. And I will see all of you guys next time. Live long and prosper, my Trekkies. And I want to actually address one of the biggest things that people actually criticize Star Trek Nemesis for, which is actually the motivations. I'm going to put an actually counter on this thing, I swear to God.